Welcome to the Daily Bolster. Each day we welcome transformational executives to share their real-world experiences and practical advice about scaling yourself, your team, and your business.
I am Matt Blumberg. I'm the founder and CEO of Bolster, and I am excited to be here today with Rory Verrett. Rory is the founder and CEO of boutique executive search firm Protégé Search. Prior to that, he's worked at a bunch of other major executive search firms during his career, and for a few years was also the head of talent for the National Football League, the NFL, which I'm sure there's a great question in there for maybe another podcast, Rory. Rory is also a member of our board of directors at Bolster. So welcome to the Daily Bolster, Rory.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I am excited about this topic. So our topic today is, what does it mean to interview for cultural fit? And I'll start this off by just saying, I know a lot of CEOs, including me, quite frankly, that I sort of feel like the number one thing I'm interviewing for when I'm interviewing someone for a job is cultural fit, because I feel like the recruiting process will produce people who are capable of doing the job. And I want to make sure we bring someone into the organization that shares our values and is going to mesh well with the team. Is that a good practice, a bad practice? Is there a way to do it?
Yes, I think your instincts and intentions are right, but there are two things that I think you should be mindful of. Number one, CEOs are not the best arbiters of what the culture is, because
that's really interesting. So
at startups, the CEO is often the founder, and people sort of tend to walk delicately around the founder. They may walk on eggshells. There may be a culture that is unintended from what the CEO wants. And so I don't think I know what the culture is in our firm. I think I know what I want it to be, but how we actually operate and what makes us successful, I don't think maybe I know that so well.
Fascinating. Okay, so how do you think an organization can best interview for cultural fit? And then I'll come back and ask the other question: what should a CEO be interviewing for?
Yeah, I think you use leadership competencies, and to keep it simple, you ask everyone in the organization, how do we operate? What are the leadership criteria, the behaviors people need to exhibit to be successful here? Is it all hands on deck, managing through crisis? We make decisions with the rigorous analysis of data. We are always honest, even brutally so. There are some sort of values that govern cultures. I think you need to spell them out and then interview against that. Ask the candidate. We are a data-driven company. We make decisions on the rigorous analysis of data. Tell me how you've done that.
Okay, so that's interesting. So most companies do have values. They're stated usually on the company's website. Let's say we're confusing the topic of culture and values, and we want to focus on values and making sure that we're interviewing people for fit with values. Do you think a founder CEO can do that? Or do you think that's also difficult?
Yes, I think a founder can do it, but I think it's important to have a person or a set of people that can stress test their assumptions, right? So you come out of an interview and you say, I just interviewed Jamal. I thought he was extraordinary, but I have a concern about this because he said X, Y, and Z. Person 1, 2, and 3, what do you think about that, right? Get a jury, get a chorus of people that can test your instincts and don't go at it alone.
Interesting. And do you suggest that a company sort of define that at the beginning of an interview process? Like they define roles. Okay, there's 6 of us interviewing this candidate. You talk about this value, you talk about that value. Do you think
absolutely
one person is focused on values and other people are focused on functional competencies?
I think every interview should be a mixture of functional competencies and values. And I think then you wind up getting at the issue of culture. I think when you put that all in a big gumbo pot and you go with a little bit of your head and your heart, you typically make the right decision. But I think it's important for founders, CEOs, not to make every decision unilaterally. Get another set of eyes and ears on what you've seen and heard to give you another perspective.
What do you think can go wrong with an interview process when it is focused on culture, or even if it's just focused on values? What can go wrong in terms of bias and adding bias into an interview process unintentionally?
You could find out that the person is not someone you might like socially. They may be politically from a completely different part of the spectrum. They may be much more religious than you are. They may be much more or much less patriotic than you are. They may be from a part of the country where you've never been and you have your own bias. I heard somebody, a friend of mine, say, I hate interviewing people from the South. I hate the way they talk. I'm from the South. I was like, how can you say that? Well, no, you don't have an accent. I said, I do have an accent, right? So I think those things can creep in, and they could be a person that would work well in your culture, would be functionally expert, but you may not like them at first. And I don't know how important that is to like someone with the data points you get out of an interview.
But how do you root that out? You know, even if you say, hey, all I'm going to do is interview against values and interview against functional competencies, that doesn't really get to that point of the old, like, do you want to have a beer with the person, right?
I think it's important, again, to have another set of eyes and ears, to be vulnerable with the people around you, especially the folks in the bunker with you in a startup, to say, I have these misgivings about someone, and here's why I have these misgivings, and let someone be a sort of blank slate against that. They may say, hey, you always have a bias about people from the South. Remember Johnny that we interviewed? You didn't like him either. You might not remember that you dissed John because he was from, Mississippi or something. And so somebody that's been with you for a while or been in the company for a while might be able to, again, stress test your assumptions and provide a reality check.
All right, this is great, Rory. So I'm going to sum up my 3 learnings from this. Number 1, interview against specific values, not vaguely against culture. Number 2, don't focus on likability and do you want to have a beer with the person. And number 3, have lots of eyes and ears on an interview process, not just you as the founder and CEO. That's
excellently summed up. Perfect. Absolutely right.
Rory, thank you for being one of our first guests on the Daily Bolster.
It was a blast. Thank you.